is straight. I always get this crooked. G'day and welcome. It's part 52 on the XC restoration. 52 videos. It's amazing. But the car isn't far now, and I think there's only another few videos in it before we're finished. Right, so the vehicle is now ready to be driven just up and down the drive. There's still no front guards on it. Graham's got those, and I've sent the paint off to him today. I found a way to send it. Interestingly, most freight companies won't freight that stuff because it's dangerous goods. Pack and Send quoted something like $200 for 3 litres, or it's in a 4 litre can. And I put it through Australia Post Road, and it was $18 to send to Adelaide. So you go figure. Sometimes the simplest solution's often the right one, but I didn't even think of that. Milsom's told me about it. Anyway, so the car now, I've just got to put the back wheels on, start it up, drive it. In the meantime, we've got to prime the oil filter, prime the oil pump. It's been a while since I've driven it. I can't actually remember when I drove it last, or when I started it last. Anyway, whatever. It's all got fuel in it and it's ready to go. So, when Graham comes back with the guards, and that might not be for a while, I don't know. He's got a hell of a workload there. But he did send me some photos, which I'll show you later. He's already taken the paint off, and one of them had a nasty patch in it, a bit like the rear quarter in the XW that I changed. There was a messy patch in there, and I cut it out and put a new one in. And it's pretty manky. It's got a plate that's been stuck there before, and they did a pretty crappy job. So I'll just roll up a new bit of 1mm sheet. So when that comes back, he's going to bring 3 Holden grey motors, and there's 2 132.5s and a 138. So they'll be like FEFC and an EJ one. One of them has had 6 or 8 303 rounds pumped into it, so I don't know how good that's going to be, but it could have some salvageable parts. I do intend to make one as new, a full restoration on one of them with machining and all that sort of stuff done, and we'll try and see what's left and see if we can get a second one painted up and looking nice and running as well, similar to what we did with that little BMC 1500 engine over there, and that turned out to be a peach. And I made up, I think, 1 good head out of 3 heads. Do you know what I mean? And lap valves and all this. I'll try and do the same with that, but I don't know what the part's going to be like when he gets here. Chances are they're going to be pretty well, knackered, so it doesn't matter. Whatever the case, we don't drive the XC in this one, but we've got it ready to drive. And lots of bits and pieces being done. And I'm also finding other little bits and pieces underneath, which I thought, oh, I forgot about that and I've got to revisit it. Things like one of the bolts for the fuel tank's missing because the captive nut was gone, so I can just put a bolt and a washer in there and all that sort of nut in there and all that sort of stuff. So there's just those little bits and pieces to do. And that is about it for this one, I think. So I hope you enjoy. We need to get underneath this thing. I want to talk about something for a minute. And you can't see it. Oh, there it is. Tail shaft. Right, this one's originally out of an XC 351. There are 2 different yokes. I took the yoke for a C4. People will call that a C10. That just annoys me. They're a C4 pan-filled. There's 2 types, pan-filled and case-filled. This one originally had a bigger FMX spline, so it was from a 351 XC with an FMX. There were no C4s put in 351 cars in Australia. They were all FMXs. So I bought some unis and put that yoke on. Now that yoke, C4 and single rail are the same. FMX and C6 are the same. I'm not sure what a top loader uses. Maybe the bigger one, like the FMX. Not sure. But can't see it in the back. But you'll notice that's an original 351 tail shaft, and it's swaged, where it's reduced sort of in to where the flange for the unis is. By contrast, this isn't. This is just a straight shaft. This is the original shaft from the 6-cylinder, or the 221 in the XW. Now, 6-cylinder and 302 are the same. The 351s were the ones that had the sort of flared out, swaged shaft. So I've got to go and get another one of these made. This is too long, being a 6-cylinder one. The length I'm looking for is 33mm. That's what I measured. And he doesn't think he's got the larger 351 shaft, but you can get one the same as this in thicker wall, which would be just as strong or stronger. So we'll just see what he's got. I've got that. The yoke, which wasn't brilliant, but I cleaned it up and it looks peachy now. So I've got some measurements on a napkin here. I can remember them off the top of my head anyway, and I'll go down and see what he says. Right. Rear brake lines, I've had these made up. A friend of mine did them at New Brakes. Normally you would buy these sorts of things from Old School. I took the old ones in as a pattern. He supplied them, as you see, with nuts. These are the original ones off the car that were plated ages ago with the washers. They're all the same thread, in that XC's, that's an Imperial thread, I can't remember which one it is. And some of them, I think he said it was XD, use metric at one end and Imperial at the other, from the master down to the rear brakes. I think he said it was XD. So I've had both of these done, and you've got to watch these cars because, for example, in the door handle's 6x1 metric, and then, you know, the doors are held on with 5/16 course, and there's other Imperial ones in there as well. But this is fine, this is great. That's the breather, which goes on a through bolt, and of course I've got the copper washers as well to fit all this stuff up. So we've got that, we've got all the brake fluid we need, and we can now get the car to the point where all the pedals are functional, so the brake pedal is going to work. In fact, the only control that I've got on the vehicle that doesn't work or isn't connected yet is the handbrake. So the tail shaft should be back in the next couple of days, and also Graham, the xacoupeguy, has now got the guards. They arrive very, very quickly to him, so we're moving very quickly on our XC. Oh, shiny new tail shaft. That slipped up. I marked it in the Starley when I packed it, when I stuck it in, because it was still not fully cured. You can see that swaging there. So it's the bigger shaft for the 351. So I've just got to get some hardware together and we'll pop it in. This one's a Borgie and it uses straps which aren't nearly as strong, or at least aren't as strong, as the U-bolts that are used on the 9 inches. So really this car should have a 9 inch in it being a 351, but it hasn't got one. I've got to find here's the other problem. The threads are 1/4 inch, but they're not 1/4 20s, they're your coarse ones, and they're not 1/4 28s, I think they're 1/4 24s, which I haven't got. That one's too long. I just don't know what to do with the other one. And the closest thing I've got are screws, and we can't use those, but we can use it to hold the shaft in place until we can buy some proper fasteners. What the heck have I done with the other one? I've only got 2 of them. I need to buy another couple. So I'm just going to look around for that, because right now I have no idea what to do with it. Right. This is really, really obscure. And the grease, every time I put something down, it's just out of reach. I'm just going to pop a bit of grease along here. It's just bearing grease, which is safe on a manual. You wouldn't do it on an auto, though. You have to use Snow White petroleum jelly on an auto, just because the grease, the bearing grease, will play havoc with bands and clutches. So I'm just going to feed that up into there. I can't really see where I am. Just like that. Alright, we get down the back and have a look. I'm just going to feed this up like that. Now these are straps, they're not 351 material. These are standard on 6s and 302s. This car, of course, was originally a 302. So it's the less sort of nice of the choices, I guess. But I had a 351 9 inch out of an XC, a disc brake one. I sold it like an idiot quite a few years ago for $600 with a rebuilt 3 flat centre. Another great thing. So we'll just put these in. And I've got to get another 2 of these bolts. So what you're about to see in a minute is a big no-no, because I'm going to use just screws in here to hold this. For now, and the lighting's terrible. I'll just try and hold that light with my elbow. I don't like being under cars, I hate it. It's one of the reasons I gave the trade up, I just got sick of it. And we had hoist in that, but you're still getting under them. These are grade 5 hardened, so there's 3 dashes on these. If they were metric, they'd have a different type of marking. But for this, it's just grade 5. And I'm not in properly yet, so that has to go in like that, and that will sit down just like that, and then we can tighten them up, and I can just pop some little screws in there just to hold it for now, and we should be good. It's not a bad day. It's kind of warm, but it's going to rain. Starley, I've got to give it a service, and the paint's dull, so I've got to rebuff that. I'm happy with it. So I pulled out some vehicles. The blue is filthy, absolutely filthy, and I want to get that on the road sooner than later. Look at the cobwebs on it. It's just been sitting around. Hang on a second. I'm just going to go around here, and there's the cat. Put. No, not today. Falcon. Right. Let's get into the Falcon because we need to. And I'm just assembling the rear brakes or the rear brake lines. I've done the tail shaft. Just a minute. Oh, look at that handsome tail shaft. I've changed the bolts out for grade 8s. They're a quarter 28. I thought they were a 24 because I tried a 28 in there and it didn't go, but it might have had damaged thread. It didn't. It certainly looked alright. But I ended up buying those and then realised I had a box of them here. Well, I knew I had a box of them here, but thought the ones I was buying were shorter, but they weren't. Anyway, they fit well. So that's good. Brake line is done. That rear one there, I've just got to get under here and wipe it off. It's a bit grotty and horrible. So I've now got to do these brake lines, these outboard lines that go into the caliper, which is in here somewhere. I can't see. So we're moving along quite well. But I'm a source of frustration to a lot of people. There's work on everything. The XW, I'm putting power steering on. I'm raising the front about an inch and lowering the back. I never got around to doing that. The XW I'm really happy with. Very, very happy with, but I don't like the steering. The GT boxes, the 16:1 boxes, are the preference. Very expensive, and I never bothered sourcing one. This is a 20:1, a standard one. But in putting the later power steering on, the same as what the XC's got, they're all 16:1 anyway, and they just make it a bit more drivable, and so on and so forth. The steering's not too heavy in it, even though it has got a Windsor in it. The 351 Windsors are pretty comparable to a Cleveland in terms of weight. The motorcycles are another cause of frustration to people because they're all almost done. I don't know why I get to this point and then I stop. Like the Falcon, the XC's nearly done. This just needs a seat cover and a brake rod. The rear one there is XL 250, so it's too short. Stepping on leaves. But that's almost finished. Same with the Susie. I just need the front caliper kit and master kit. And that bastard at Cruise and Image wouldn't return emails, and I sent another one, he still hasn't returned it, so it was $200 in the toilet. Gary gave me some heat over the 750 because he gave me the tank on it, and I still haven't finished it. That needs a bit more. We need an exhaust, we need a seat, a whole seat because the pans are knackered in the other one, we need a clutch cable, we need front brake assembly, the whole thing. So on and so forth. The Plymouth, which has got all muck on it, needs an interior and an exhaust system and some chroming done on the bumpers, and that's out of here. The Sigma needs to be completely repainted. The paint's just rejected all over the place, and of course the Bluebird just needs the front end bushes done. That's finished as well. So I've got this habit of sort of getting this far and not really doing too much with these cars. And I've got to hustle with this because these tyres will be almost 5 years old now, and I haven't even used them yet. Anyway, I've got to get the screws, the countersunks that go into the disc. I want those in. I think they're quarter course. I'm not sure what they are. They look like a quarter course. Might be wrong. It's a Ford, remember? And they do stuff people around with their thread sizes. So let's start putting the brake lines in. Where is it? Yeah, we'll just put a new, what do you call it? Copper washer in. This bloody line here seems to be too long. It is the same as what came off though. I've never been great at bending brake lines. I should use a flare nut spanner. I've got one somewhere, but I'm just going to do it up with an open ender. And then just sort of, once I've got that seated in the flare, oops, just make sure it's not going to rub out or do anything it shouldn't do. It's all floating there. I'm just worried about that. I put the wheel on and it clears. I actually pulled this in a bit to kick that out. But even with it dead straight, it's still clearing. So nothing's in the way of the handbrake. That sort of comes down here. So I think we're good there. I've still got to get a handbrake cable. I keep talking about that and haven't done anything about it. So I'll just do the other side quickly, and then I think we can stick some brake fluid in it at long last. Right, roughing in this right brake line, and I've got to bend it properly to go up there. But the problem I've got is Nice. We're 3 inches too short, so I better go and get another one made, hey? Never mind, it's all good. Right, we're looking at paint. Wimbledon white, my favourite white of all time. Now I've got to send some of this stuff to Graham, who's got the gardens, and I've got to ask him yet if he minds if I do like take some of the clip, his last clip, because he had the guards in his new workshop. He hasn't been able to begin, obviously, because he's got a new shop. I just want to make sure this is stirred properly. It's probably more important this other one is, because I want to send him about 3 litres. There's not enough in there to do 2 guards, but I've got this lot as well. And I bought it all at the same time. I was mixing them together to make sure it was the same across the whole car. I'm just going to pop some of that in there. Is that an acceptable amount, do you think? Maybe just send him a whole lot. I wouldn't mind some for touch-ups though. Hopefully that's enough. That's got to be enough to do 2 guards. That's a lot of paint. Yeah, that'll be enough. So I'm just going to pack this. Now, what I found with the paint was no carrier wants to take it because it's considered dangerous goods. And the funny part is, the only company that'll take them, Pack and Send will take them, but they'll charge $200 or $300 to do it. But Australia Post, as long as it's road only, so we'll tape it all up and we'll package it and take it down to the post office, and they can take it to Graham. I'm sure there'll be enough in there for what he needs. I've got the can, the lid's completely sealed on with tape, both this way and sort of around it as well. Let's stick some bubble wrap. I might have got too much bubble wrap here. And I've made a box. Maybe I've made the box too small. But I want the top of the box to be hard against there so it can't come undone. And I'll just tape around this. We'll clearly mark it so it's only road transport, and Ozpos know exactly what's in there. But this way the guards get painted in the identical product that the rest of the car is painted in. That can go. The next thing I want to talk about is seatbelts. Here are old front seatbelts. The rears were good, so I put them back in the car, clean them, and sort of throw them back. Before these go, I've just got to take any hardware, off them. I've left the, what do you call it, the brackets. They actually mount the spools on a bit of an angle according to which side it is. So that's all good. So these still have their plastic gaskets and all that sort of stuff, so they're really good. And it's fine to reuse them using that little paper thread keeper. It sort of insulates between the car and the belt itself. So they're all good. So we've got left and right. The spools work well. They do sound a bit dodgy, but look, if it works out that they can't be, if they can't be reused, I'll just get, they're locking all right. So they seem to be working well. So there is a noisy thing. I don't know if we're going to recondition that. But one thing that does worry me about it, that's a good one there. Oh, where this sort of broken away. If I was doing the roadworthy, I'd knock that back. This one is really broken away, but apparently they can redo that sort of stuff. That belt there is just knackered. And what we used to do in the 90s, we would even fail that for fraying. I had my lighter here before. Here we go. And we would just run along it with a lighter, and that would get rid of the fraying, and that's how we used to get around those things. And that's pretty rooted, but it would get rid of any sort of loose threads, but we're not going to do that. We're going to replace it all. So there's the 2 belts. They're sort of stiff and not very nice. So coming, Charlie bought donuts. So we've got those 2, and we'll pop these in a box. And these are going to John at Old School. He's got a guy that does them. And as I said, you know, if it turns out they're not viable to do, I'll just get some aftermarkets. So I've another box here for those, so they're going. And I'll just mark the top of the box for John. And that gets that out of the way. So I've got all those parts boxed. When I get the seatbelts back, most of this interior stuff can go back together. Although I think Nathan Hickey said he's got another one of these. This is my broken one. That's the right colour too. I think that was initially dusk, but it goes with the green really, really well as well. And of course, the B-pillar ones. That would clean up. I don't want, if I don't have to paint something, I'm just not going to paint it, you know what I mean? That'll all clean up really well. So I've got that stuff. And the other thing is Graham is going to be dropping off 3 Holden grey motors. So we're going to restore one to new, rebuild it properly, and try and get a second one out of it too, as in a good runner. So we'll see how we go with that. That's coming. At least I can do for him if he's doing all this other work for me. So let's go look at these. I've given these a rudimentary clean. There's a lot of tar and stuff from roadworks obviously in the past. That one's quite good. We can use some 2000 just to make it look a bit better. It's always, you're never going to see it's behind the guard, the front guard. But I need a gasket for that. But it kind of goes against me putting this on a new sort of car. That's in very good shape. Not so much with that. So the lenses are pretty good though. I haven't cleaned them up. Well, I've cleaned them up, but I haven't polished them or anything. And the threads are a little bit rusty, but I've got them back, so they're good. Obviously the reflector side goes in that way, and that goes with the light facing down, so that would be the passenger side, left hand side. So they're all good. I just pulled them out of a box. I forgot I had them, and I'm trying to sort of look at all the little bits and pieces that I need in order to get the front guards on. I've got Rosie here to help me bleed the brakes because there's no room. I can't get, my 2 other kids won't fit. Can you come in here? And, you know, I should be doing this in daylight, but I just want to get it done. I've been doing all this family stuff through the day instead. Can you fit in there? Hang on. Just open the door. I'll put my hand. God, you're weak. Okay, sorry. I was going to pop my hand. I'm very fat. Jesus. Oh, you're hurting my finger. Can you get in? Or is that impossible?
No, you're Hold on, you're making me laugh. I can get it, but you're making me laugh.
Hang on. Yeah, you gotta face the other way.
What?
You gotta face the other way. That's it. Alright. There's door seals on the bottom where the floor is. Can you reach that middle pedal?
Which one?
There's 3 pedals, the one in the middle.
Oh, yeah, because it's cold.
Right, just a moment. I'm going to try and bleed these. Can you hear me, Rosie?
Yeah.
Alright, just a minute. I started trying to... can you push your foot down on the pedal? Down?
Yeah.
Okay, did it go to the floor?
I'm pushing it to the floor now.
Good on you, well done. Hang on, just hold it there for a minute. There's got to be a better way than this. This sucks. Hang on. Film the brake bleeding. Everyone knows how to bleed brakes. I've got this all done, and it looks absolutely beautiful in there. It's all brand new kit. Rosie's bled it, done a sterling job. I'm just going to push that down. Is that on? Yeah, I believe it is. This brake fluid's from Pete. It's still the .3, I think, is it? Or .4? No, this is .4. There's penrite stuff. It's beautiful. So, I don't think I did that same stuff in the clutch. What's in the clutch? I think this is supposed to be .3, actually, not .4. Anyway, bled without a hitch, although the nipple on the left-hand front hadn't seated properly, so it was leaking out through there while I was bleeding the back. And I think I've neutralised it all and sorted that out. And the right-hand front was bleeding quite slowly, so the orifice in the nipple might be a bit blocked. I'll have to have a look at that later, but for now, the pedal doesn't look too bad. Can you do me... Oh, I can't see the brake pedal. Can I? Oh, I can see your foot. All right. It's off. Okay, just your foot's just resting on it, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, push down as far as you can. I can't see.
Oh.
How far has it gone down?
A little bit.
That'll do. I'll figure it out after. That should be enough to be able to move the car around there. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Come on, love. You can come out.
Now?
At this point, we're just sort of going around looking for leaks, physically touching the back of the calipers and any unions that are involved with it. I'm just going to kind of like to clean it up a bit too. Oops. You know, it does look pretty mangy, but make it look a bit prettier. But we're sort of looking around areas like that, and where the steel and rubber lines join. Also, all of the, you know, any sort of junctions like this, which I've already done. I know that's all right. So, it all looks fairly good. I'm just going to check the front. They certainly bled very well. So again, there's no complaint from me. That was loose down here. Before I started, I checked that. That's all good. There's no leak. Let me move this up a bit. And these, yeah, that's all good. It all looks like it's supposed to look. That might be behind here. I've got to put that cap on. But otherwise that all looks good, and particularly sort of in those areas where there's unions. So that car now is at the point where we can drive it. I've got to put the rear wheels on, and then it's ready to go up and down the driveway for a quick spin under its own power. Of course, I've been looking forward to that. Rear bumper will have to come off at some point to get redone, but I'm not worried about it for now. I just want to get this stuff done first. The XW's there looking lovely. Tomorrow, maybe day after tomorrow, these will go off to John to be re-webbed. They're the seat belts. The paint's been sent off today to Graham. Wonderful. He's already been doing work on the guards. I'll show you these two photos. Just a moment. Well, there's not two photos. There's quite a bit of stuff here, including a 12-minute video that Graham knocked together tonight. I didn't expect him to move so quickly on this, but you can see the amount of fill in these. I knew there was some at the bottom, but you can see that huge thing. That fault is much bigger than what we dealt with the XW. I had no idea they were like that, because it looked like they were underneath fairly original paint. So he's got the guards unpacked and he's got them sitting on a horse, and he started. I'm absolutely chuffed. I didn't expect this at all. So here's a picture of the man himself, and he threw this 12-minute segment together for me, which I wanted to include in its entirety in this video presentation. So don't forget to subscribe to xacoupeguy. Thanks very much.
You know, it's been a day of digging out bog. Lots and lots of bog in this Landau, and it continues in these guards. Now, if you guys are seeing this, you're probably watching Peter Anderson. But I run my channel, xacoupeguy. I really should change it to something else, but that's what it was, and that's what it is now. I'm doing these guards for him, so he can finish up his GXL, which should be lovely. And I've been digging out bog. This guard is the better of the two, but of course somebody's been here before. This is not as bad as that one, and I'll show you that in a second. I'm going to make sure I re-drill that because somebody's welded up. That is the screw hole for one of the sill panel molds, so that's actually supposed to be there. This isn't too offensive, and it was fairly stable because that guard had been done, that's been done a very, very long time ago. So that one may get left alone because it's not, I mean, it's not overly pretty. I might tap it around a little bit, but it's not bad enough that it needs to be redone, if that makes any sense. And we've got to rework the front here. It's a bit gone here, and it's actually, this particular one is a really good guard. This is the little wolf that he was worried about. Luckily, in the grand scheme of things, that's not actually that bad. It's got a high spot running around there, and the style line is squashed in there, so that's fairly straightforward. You just make sure that you hit this out first, bring it up, and then hammer and dolly that flat, and you should get that pretty close to where it was, and with a bit more tink. And there's a couple of high dents that I spotted there. There was another one somewhere, I did see it. Lovely cream. But I've been, as you just seen, I've been digging the bog out of that, and I dug the bog out of here. And you might go, but Graham, why did you put black over the top? That's because in a very few seconds I'm going to show you why. Because I'm going to run a file blade over that and show you how to find lows, and then you can tap them up, keep filing, tap them up, keep filing until they're gone. And that's the one that Peter Anderson had a go at, and he did a pretty good job for a non-panel beater, I have to say. And I figured while I'm here I might as well just get it, get that dent out of there. Also, when it's glossy black, you can see dents a mile away. So one of the things, if you had like a black etch like that is, and you spray it on, if you want to look for dents, then you spray wax and grease remover over it in one of those little pump bottles, and it will make it shiny and you'll see dents. Also, another hint, say you're in this workshop, look into the light, don't look that way, if that makes any sense, because you need to look from a dark area to a light area to see the dents. It's something that someone taught me ages ago. So I dug out this the other day and found a pretty big, well, effectively a warp mark. It's got a pretty good divot in there, and there was a fair amount of filler. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'll probably cut this all out, probably up to around, potentially, I may not go that far, but I'll definitely go past this and weld it so it's a lot smoother. And there's no words can describe how much filler and bog was in that. And it was dented in here. So from what I've gathered and what our chats have been between me and Peter, is this car got very well loved by the person who last had it. They've gone around and basically messed with a lot of the key features. So we've got to basically go and undo them, if that makes any sense. But yeah, we're getting really stuck into them. I'm going to get these back to him as quickly as I humanly possible, and they're looking pretty good. I mean, I do have a fair amount of work on myself. So Landau, XW, there's a coupe, an XD, and my FG Ute. That XD is actually an ex-police interceptor, and I was just an XB coupe, nobody cares about those. So I'm going to set this thing up and I'll run a file blade over it and show you what the gibberish I'm on about. Right chaps, I'll run you through one thing. For those who know, this is a board file, this is a body file. So that is for doing steel, that's for doing filler. I know a lot of people do get the two names confused. Board file, body file. So for this, you use a body file. Now these are interesting because you can adjust them to potentially have curves or reverse curves for what you're doing. So you want it, let's go with loosey-goosey, maybe a slight up. So we're going to do this. Have all your dents. And you can file a lot of dents out, believe it or not. You just don't want to file all of them out. There's the style line you want to keep nice and straight. So we've also just moved shops, so I don't actually know where half my tools are. Normally people have said to me, "Hey, what'd you find?" It's not what I found, it's what I've lost. Because 3 weeks ago I knew where everything was. So I'm going to go just gingerly tap this up with whatever hammer I can find and then show you how this works, which you probably already know. We're back, and I'm going to put this on this guy because if I touch it it's going to disappear. This is a wooden panel beating hammer. Very, very useful, and they're particularly good for not overstretching stuff. So what I'm going to do is just hopefully figure out how I can reach around and do that. We'll jump everywhere. Tap this one up a bit so that you can see it in the works. And just like that, the dent just got smaller. Go around one more time. One more time. Bit more. Because I feel like I'm hitting it enough, but according to this, I'm not hitting it hard enough. It would help if the guard stopped walking away on me, but as you can see, according to the file blade, right through there, doesn't have a dent in it anymore. And usually, you'd keep doing this, depending on how long or how deep your pockets are, you could file finish a guard up, and I probably will get them very close with this, and then we'll see what a skim of high fill primer does to them. And then maybe a very mickey whisker of dolphin glaze if they need a little bit of loving in a few key areas. So probably what I'll do for Peter is I'll bare metal them, do this to them, and tweak them to very, very close, and then tweak them a little bit better with some primer and things like that, because this won't get it 100%. There are people who can, but they spend a lot more on it. So that's what I'm going to do to get some of the dents close. That is no longer massive, it's now just a little bit there, and with a bit more time, not on camera, I'll get them mostly gone and that style line straight again. And we'll do the same exact thing over here for the other guard where that big woof is. And with some loving, they should come back from the dead. Now I think Peter Anderson's going to stick this in one of his videos, so howdy to all his fans, and If you feel like subscribing to xacoupeguy for more pedal beating hoo-ha and whatnot, and some of the cars that I play with, feel free to come on by. You might enjoy it, you might not. But we certainly play with a lot of old Falcons here. So come around and say hi. Thanks.
And so he's been doing really, really wonderful things. Cleveland, which one is it? I think it's the blue one. Oil pump primer. I will pull the distributor and just run oil pressure through it. I thought I'd started this recently, but I think it was a while ago. I don't know, I can't remember. So just to be safe, we'll prime up the oil pump and just put a bit of oil in the cylinders and start it up. Then we'll take it for a little bit of a stick. I'll do that in the next video. The rest of it, when the seatbelts come back, I've got all the paint for the trimmings and all that sort of stuff. And so more of the interior can go together. And I've also got to realign the boot lid and wet sand it and buff it. And then Grant's lovely trim, trim can go on. I can put that trim on there. And the rear will look much better. And I've also got the vents to put in. I never got around to putting those in. I do have to, that's just, what do you call it stuff? Mastic. I do have to paint those bits black because you can see them through the leading edge of the thing. So moving ahead really, really well. And of course, when the guards come back, all those sort of lower trims go on, wheel arch molds and all that sort of stuff. So we're flying through this thing now, which is good. I'm happy. So on that note, I'll say thanks very much for watching. Take good care of yourself, enjoy your classic, and I'll see you soon. What do you reckon? Jesus.